Well, hello, everybody. Sorry, I'm going to be messing with my hair at first. I just let it down and it's a little wacky. So Wayne Dyer, I have been listening to the last thing that he published before he passed away, at least to my knowledge. So Wayne Dyer, if you don't know who he is, pause and look him up really quick. He was really a game changer in the world of self-help books, and then he just took this amazing spiritual path and just like and just like went up and up and up like a rocket. And then in 2015 he got diagnosed with leukemia and then died of a heart attack, which seems very odd because he's incredibly healthy. And so I had a question. I was like, did he get taken out um, in 2015 because of the kind of voice that he has in the world? And we'll get more into that later. And so I'm doing past life regressions with Dela, whom I will also interview as a Seven of Hearts. And Wayne came through, told us a whole bunch of stuff. And my first question was, did they take you out? Did the bad guys take you out? And he said emphatically, I took myself out. I achieved what I meant to achieve. So, hi, Bronze Beauty. So, his birthday is May something, but it's the 10 of Diamonds and the Ace of Hearts because he was a Taurus. So, in this past life regression, or she calls it multidimensional regression, an MDR, because I don't go into a past life. We just go straight to the guides and talk to them. And when Wayne came through, one of the things he said was to do a live on his ascending hand, which I have not even had the time to look at. But I was like, today's the day to do that. I don't know why, but anyway, let's dive into it. So the 10 of Diamonds, they have. I'm just going to do kind of like the real basic reading about what I'm seeing and what the commonalities are. And also I want to say this book that I haven't finished yet, this book on audio that I'm listening to, the last thing that he wrote before he passed away, is called I Can See Clearly Now. And it's all about looking into his past. He goes back to his like first memory at 2.5. And he'll tell an event and then he'll say, I can see clearly now the purpose of this in my life and the divine perfection of everything, which I think is a very high vibrating 10 of Diamonds. Like, he went through the paces. He wasn't perfect. He learned a lot, had some real difficulties, but like, perfection comes with the number 1. If you're a 1 in the Enneagram, you're a perfectionist. And if you're in the Jupiter line, you are this horizontal Jupiter line. You are going to have not only 10, 10, ace, ace, but here's another ace and here's another 10. So you have 3 10s and 3 aces. You're going to have 6 cards in your hand that vibrate to the frequency of 1, which means you're going to be a pioneer of some kind. And I'm talking anybody with these cards in their hand with the Jupiter line. So this could go back all the way to like the King of Diamonds in the Venus line, 6 of Hearts, 4 of Clubs, 2 of Diamonds, 6 of Spades, 8 of Clubs, and then of course the Jupiter line itself. But the pioneering, the willingness, the understanding, kind of written in your DNA that you're supposed to be original. You're supposed to pioneer something and do something that hasn't been done before, and to trust yourself. So what made him such a powerful author is that he was giving out that message that to have confidence in oneself, that pioneering thing. I mean, in order to step into doing something like he did it, and to so relentlessly hold to one's own truth and one's own vision, that message to the world is so I have just cried so many times in the synchronicities, listening to this story about, yes, there is a divine perfection about my life, about every single detail, every player that comes in, every circumstance. It's all perfectly timed. Even the experiences of doubt and fear and, oh, I can't see my way. And that's what's so fun about listening to him, is that from his first memory, he's just relentless, like an arrow, just going forward in one direction. And that's Jupiter, right? Jupiter, expand, make it bigger. And I think that a lot of people might get triggered by his energy. I mean, certainly at first I was like, wow, somebody, it's like I got next to myself and I was like, wow, somebody could be really triggered by how self-aggrandizing he is. But he's not really. He's not really. He's a poster child for what is possible. And he did share a bunch of his vulnerabilities and stuff getting into it. But anyway, so yeah, learning so much from Wayne. So let me just tune into him for a second. And if you guys have any questions or comments, just go ahead and post them. But let me see where he wants to go. Just, he's like, start with the ascending hand. Okay. So what's his Mercury card? Let's start with the moon, which would be the 8 of spades. Thank you, Wayne. I'll be saying that over and over again. The 8 of spades is unconditional confidence. I'm saying unconditional because there's just such a strength in that card. And of course it can be very forceful and obnoxious and controlling, but it's the realized energy of the 8 is absolute confidence. And to have that as a moon card, if you're ascending and your hand is going in this direction, this becomes the moon card. So this becomes like the secret formula in your back pocket that allows you to just move forward and do anything. And he definitely had that unconditional confidence. So the very first memory, that's what I want to share with you. When he was 2.5, his single mother, because his dad left, and you'll hear more about that, but his dad abandoned the family and was just an absolute shit. Never, ever reappeared in their lives, never even acknowledged to his next wife that he had 3 sons. Wayne was the youngest of 3. He was just a very sad person. I'm not even going to say bad person. But anyway, we'll go into that later. He was at a bus stop with his mother and his older brothers on a snowy, gosh, what was it? Pennsylvania, Ohio, I can't believe I'm not remembering that. Maybe it was Detroit. But a Midwestern winter, ick. And it has them at the bus stop because they have to take the bus to drop the kids off with her parents so that she can go to work because she's a single mom. And this is back in the 40s, I believe. Yeah, post World War II, late 40s. Anyway, so then this bus comes by and whoosh, huge. Okay, I'm just going to see if I can get rid of this top fans thing because I just don't care about the top fans. Hi, Jeannie. It's really good to see you. Yeah, you've missed me before, so I'm glad you're here. Sorry, I'm just going to see if I can get rid of the top fans. If anyone knows how to do this, that'd be great. I can't do it. So, okay, I'm going to tap on this again. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know how to get out of that. So anyway, so this bus drives by and splooshes all of this slush, rain, street water that's filled with salt all over all of them. And from the snowplow, there had been this enormous big pile of snow that had been piled up from a snowplow. And when this happens, everyone has a reaction to it, right? The mother begins to cry, and the youngest brother becomes hysterical. No, the middle brother becomes hysterical because he's caretaking the mother, and then the oldest brother is like trying to problem solve. and they're all very stressed out and upset. And then Wayne, 2.5, is playing on this enormous pile of snow. And he goes in his 2-year-old language, whatever that was, why is everyone so upset? Like, we could just, I think his words to his mother were something to the effect of, we could just stay here and play all day. Like, I think this is pretty cool. There's a big pile of snow here. We're all together. And it's just such a wonderful picture of Wayne Dyer and his spirit and how he came into this world in seeing positives and opportunities, and as the 10 of diamonds, he's just all about, let's see the positive in all of this. And also the fact that in his descending hand, he's the ace of hearts, which is like that innocent inner child. I'm seeing everything with fresh eyes. Everything is a new beginning. So obviously he's a very old soul with what he accomplished and what he was capable of. But okay, I'm like, Wayne, I've listened to so many of these CDs already, and we're all the way up to him being in his 40s now with so many memories. He's like, I will bring them to you as you're talking about it. Okay, so the ascending hand, yes, he achieved this unconditional confidence because like he has this memory of when he was a child laying on his stomach watching TV with his brothers around him, his mom, maybe his grandparents. And he also went through a bunch of orphanages and has some fantastic stories about what he became in the orphanages. But there's this one day he's watching TV. I think he's like 15, 14. And Steve Allen was the host of The Tonight Show before Johnny Carson was, and then Jay Leno after him. But anyway, he would watch that show and he just said, I absolutely and utterly knew that I would be on that show. And I'd been thinking about it and planning it, and just the combination of the unconditional confidence that something's going to happen, which is not contrived, it's a knowing. And I think in order to have that level of knowing about something like that, this is my original phrase, you're getting a triangulated signal from your higher self. So the higher self is up here, and here's your human self in the present, and here's the future, and you're getting this triangulated signal of this is where I'm going to end up. And so that unconditional confidence is you're getting in touch with the potential timeline of that actually happening, because I think there's some things that are not destined to happen and you can't manifest them. Like, oh, I need to be with that person, but God's got another life plan for them, for example, because another human being's will is involved. But the things that we know that we know, and I think it's because we're connecting to through our higher self to a future reality. Oh, Dayla! So Dayla was the one that regressed me, and Wayne had a lot to tell the two of us, and we're probably going to share a little bit of that as we go, and he says he has more. But anyway, so, and he did get on the Tonight Show, like, I don't know, 17 times or something. And the way it happened the first time, of course, was just unbelievable, really remarkable. That first part of a person's story where they go from, poverty to being recognized and becoming a world-known author and that kind of thing. It's so exciting to see that. But what's more exciting to me is the personal development and the absolute confidence that he had. Okay, so here's another unconditional confidence thing. He had one book where he got an advance before the book was written. This was when he was well on into his writing career. And because there had been money exchanged, the publishing company said, well, you have to turn your manuscript over to our editor. So this guy edited everything, and when Wayne got it back, he was in utter shock at how this guy had basically just rewritten his book in his voice and even shared some of his own childhood experiences as though they were Wayne's. And Wayne was like, oh my God. I mean, I know that feeling of someone's trying to get you to write the paper that's not yours. That happened with my master's degree. And finally, I had to put my foot down and say, I'm not writing the paper that you want me to write. I'm writing my paper. And he just had that attitude. And he's like, he just kind of had to go along with it. And from that point, out of all of the books he's ever done, that's done the worst. The second half of the book he reclaimed, and it's in his voice. But he just had this absolute utter clarity. I'm never compromising again because I know. And if there's another example he wants to share with me, he will. But that kind of thing happened over and over again, where the publishers are like, "Oh no, 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 don't do this." But he did it instead because he absolutely knew, even if he was the only one in the world that knew what the right thing for him to do was, he did it. Like when he quit his university job, he was climbing up in the professorial world, and the tenured teacher, and publishing in the journals, and jumping through all these. And all of a sudden, when he got to a certain point of notoriety and success, because people started showing up just because he would give talks, inspirational talks, and finally he got to the point where he's like, I can't do this job anymore. It doesn't fit, and I'm getting more from people just showing up and giving $5 to listen to me talk. And he was doing that for like, I don't know, maybe one night a week, a year, and finally was making more doing that than working for the university. And they're like, no, 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 don't quit. You're so close to tenure, and and really being legitimized. Okay, and this is in the 70s, when the only self-help author out there was, God, there was one big self-help author, but Wayne Dyer was one of the first. And back then, the belief was you had to legitimize yourself through like the APA style of writing, and such and such a journals, and the approved and the accredited, and you can't speak in the vernacular. And oh yeah, he had this whole experience in the military too, where okay, this is a really good one. Okay, I have to share this, and then I'm going to go on with his ascending hand. So he was in Guam. He got stationed in Guam, and Wayne absolutely fucking hated the military. He hated any senseless rules for the sake of rules. Absolutely hated them, because he was such a rebel archetype and such a I know my truth. Why should I jump through your hoop when it's not even rational? It makes absolutely no sense. And this theme would continue to happen to him. So he goes and joins the military, which is a 6 on the Enneagram, which he is the opposite of. But see, I think he's a 3. I think he was a 3. So he had to integrate to the 6. Talk about, no, the 3 integrates to the 9. But anyway, no, that's not true either. The 9 integrates to the 3 integrates to the 6. Very difficult for a 3 to see the value of the rules. But anyway, so he was in Guam, and he developed a sore on his coccyx, and he was sent off to the infirmary. And part of the guys who were sent off there, part of their duty was to dress the wounds of guys who had gotten the procedure to fix this huge sore that developed on their coccyx, their tailbone. And so he had to dress these wounds. And he said, like, he pulls down the flap of this young man's bottom drawers, and looks, and he said it was just so disgusting what he saw, that the way the surgery had to be done with the flaps of skin, and that just, it was like a form of carnage. And he just ran screaming from there in a very orderly way. He's like, you know what? I'm fine. I'm good. I'm not in pain. I don't have this problem anymore. I'm okay now. And he left, convinced the doctors and nurses that he really was okay. Didn't get an exam. He's like, no, really, really, I'm fine. And then he healed himself. He willed himself to heal. And that was his first experience. Like, I think he'd read maybe one book about this, or like books would just end up falling into his lap. And his favorite and first and ultimate author was Thoreau, who fell into his lap because he got put into detention so often, because every once in a while he would get a total dickweed teacher, professor that would require the class to do something irrational, and he would just flat out refuse to do it. He's like, I can't, I won't. Like, there is just nothing in me that will allow me to comply with something that doesn't make sense. So he ends up in detention, but then he's like, wow, I wonder if they put this book here for me because this is amazing. And it's Henry David Thoreau was like one of the birthers of the New Thought movement, which eventually became the Science of Mind Church of religious science, which is not the same as Scientology. Ernest Holmes wrote this big compendium. It's just a philosophy, and it sort of turned into a church. And I actually went to it for a number of years, and it's about the power of the mind and the oneness and the divinity that infuses everything. And that prayer is nothing more than aligning yourself with perfection, with the God spark within, aligning with your higher self, aligning with truth. And Wayne really, really, really embodies this. Like I would be listening to his book on tape, and I would pause it and I would go, well, he's talking about alignment. Start it again, and he would say alignment. And this kind of thing would happen over and over again. And I'm like, Wayne and I have been having full on conversations, and I didn't know it until Dayla and I had this thing. And then I went for this walk this morning, and Wayne's chiming in, and I'm just like crying. And I'm like, oh my God, it was for whatever amount of time you're visiting me. Thank you. So I know I'm off on tangents, but let me catch up with the comments. Cosmic Sunflower, hi. Dayla, wow, these kind of challenges that feel so personal really do happen to the best of us. Great reminder. Oh my gosh, yeah, so true. Okay, so unconditional confidence, 8 of spades. What's his Mercury card? The 10 of hearts. So this is the everybody. Doesn't this just make so much sense? The message is for everyone. And how many successful 10 of diamonds do we know that had a very, very powerful, loving message for the entire collective? I'm just going to be like, anyone? Anyone? And I'm going to wait for the delay for you to name the famous 10 of diamonds and how them being given this gift, this boost. Okay, we all incarnate as everything, but when you get your 10 of diamonds turn, you get this huge infusion of Jupiter. So I think we're going to see a lot of famous 10 of diamonds who really embodied this 10 of hearts. They have a big message for the world. This message is for everybody. There's a universality to his mind, to his thinking, and to what his messages became. And that really was his, like with his publishers and everything, they're like, write in this approved style and da-da-da-da. And he'd be like, no, I need this to be appealing to everybody. I'm not going to go into like the voice of Rumi with poetry. I'm not going to go over into this approved psychological, APA style. I'm not going to be clinical. I'm talking to everybody, because what I'm learning and experiencing for myself, and this is his universal message, it's available to everyone. Like one of his titles is, it's magic. It's got magic in the title. Everyday magic, or shoot, I don't know why I can't remember that, but it was after a list of successes and doing really well with his life. And then Michael Jackson called him and invited he and his wife and 8 children, all his biological children, to Neverland for a week. And Michael takes him aside and says, oh, it's called real magic. And he said, I just really want to know, is there such a thing as real magic? And if so, can I have it? He didn't give any more detail on his encounter with Michael Jackson, but I'm pretty sure Michael Jackson is either the 10 of hearts or the Jack of hearts. But anyway, really cool. Yeah, because he began to experience the metaphysical and miracles. So anyway, let's continue. The Venus card. Well, and isn't this so true? The unconditional confidence he wants to engender to the populace, the entire world. Yeah. So, okay, Mercury, Venus. So the 4 of spades, this would, Wayne, do you want me to do the conversation? Nope. He's like, just do the ascending. Okay. The 4 of spades in Venus right here. And Jeannie, feel free to pitch into how you would interpret this card. But the, okay, I'm going to throw this in just because Jeannie's taught me to do this. That Mercury card of the 10 of hearts is the intersection of Jupiter and Mars. And so it's the the passion of expansion. It's the doing and the practical. So he's taking this potential expansion, this Jupiter energy, and making it practical. That's his voice, that's his message. Okay. He's like, yep. Okay, so then his Venus is actually Venus Jupiter. The other Jupiter Venus card is the Jack of Hearts. So there's a Christ connection here. The Four of Spades is about security and safety. And I have to tell you, this was embedded in him because even when he ended up in the orphanages, because mom just went through a period where she just fucking could not handle it. So he and his brothers got farmed out. And I think he was with one or two of his brothers, but he saw every moment there as an opportunity. He wasn't ever like freaked out and sad. He was just like, this is interesting. And sort of like in command of his environment and making friends with and empowering the other children. And then at one point, there was a little girl who was Jewish, and all the other kids decided that she was inferior and they were going to make fun of her. And he's like, what's Jewish? And they're like, oh, well, they just believe this. And he's like, well, that's really irrational to like ostracize someone because they believe something. He's like, that's really stupid. And so he convinced the group. He figured out, and this is like before he's 12, he figures out how to signal to the group that she is acceptable to everyone. Like he plays this game or whatever, and then everybody is like, whoa, okay, she's part of the group. She's acceptable. That's another thing that he was huge in. His whole thing was any kind of prejudice, partiality, judging something by its exterior. He just he grew up during that era before civil rights, so he saw some pretty heinous things, and it was just embedded deep within his programming, his soul. That's part of his job was to, break down any kind of ism. So anyway, Jeannie, 10 of Hearts, 10 of Diamonds were Michael's birth card and ruler. Oh, that's so beautiful. I wish we could have been privy to that conversation, but 10 of Hearts tend to be kind of private people. Hey, Sharon. Hey, everyone. Paula. Hey, girl. One love. One love. Okay, so the Four of Spades, a sense of home and security in Venus. Okay, sometimes the way this shows up, if it's a descending vibration, at 3:33, I've been having that all day. The most incredible numeric synchronicities today. And my personal card is the Six of Clubs, although what is today? Let's see, we had the Ace of Diamonds on the 14th, so 15th, 16th, Queen of Clubs. Yeah, it's a Queen of Clubs today. Planetary ruler, Ace of Clubs. So anyway, my daughter's the Eight of Clubs, and she yearns for home, for a sense of security. This is a big theme in her life, that Four of Spades and descending Venus is like, I need home. For Wayne, it was, I am home. I'm always home. Home is in my body. Now, he didn't just like arrive with those words in his mouth, but it's implicit in all of the memories, is just this quintessential security in his own skin, which was so amazing. And that is, okay, also that Jack of Clubs under the 10 of Hearts. Genius, just genius, brilliant, great sense of humor. And then the 10 of Clubs under the 4 of Spades, a facility with words. He began keeping a journal. Okay, so he was born in poverty, spent a lot of time in orphanages, and by the time he got into the military, he began keeping journals of vocabulary words. And he also gained the conviction quite early that he was a teacher. He's like, I'm a teacher. I'm going to be a teacher. And yeah, he would have file folders to expand his vocabulary. And he also amassed a whole bunch of books. There was a library there in Guam and the military base, and he got his hands on absolutely everything. Just a voracious reader, very much to himself, very solitary. And that's all that one energy. My Pomeranian is the queen of clubs. It's hard for me to not picture every Pomeranian being the queen of clubs. Anyway, that is really funny. Today you're having a king of spades. Well, king of spades is Saturn to, Saturn and, I mean, six of clubs and king of spades are Saturn to each other. So our daily cards are Saturn. That is interesting. So I would actually, the six of clubs would be your ascending Saturn. So Jeannie, I'm talking to Jeannie. Anyway, so, okay, let's go on to the six of diamonds. Mercury, Venus, Mars. Okay, so that collection of words and the accumulation of knowledge and information, he really was. Okay, so look at this in the spiritual spread. Chose to be the 10 of diamonds, which means ascending moon card is the king of clubs, which means he's got all this mental mastery, all the top cards of the club suit. His mind was huge. Sharon, Scorpio, queen of clubs. Oh my God. So just give us a brief comment on what your Pomeranian is like. Like, is she nice to anyone but you? Is she impatient? Is she highly sensitive to noises and things like queen of clubs are? Is she also very loving and nurturing to you in particular, anticipating your needs, bringing you a cup of tea on a cold day perhaps? Anyway, the six of diamonds, Mercury, Venus, Mars. Mars, six of diamonds. So, okay, I'm also going to back up that Venus, when you go into the ascending line, you begin to see that this is something that it's a service. How do you interpret that card in the form of service? So the like the 10 of hearts Mercury message is we're all in this together. The Venus, in my personal relationships, I want people to feel secure and safe. Okay, so the potential of his very first really big book deal with your erroneous zones, which comes out of, okay, retroactive, no, RET, it's a kind of therapy. Oh, Dela, you can tell me what it is. No, wait, was it you that said that you use this? Emotive, RET, rational emotive therapy. And when he first got his hands on this book, like it's about cognitive, it's like a cognitive approach to reveal your the errors in your thinking. What are your erroneous zones? I think he should have chosen another title because everyone's like your erogenous zones. And so the association with erroneous zones, it's like your mistaken beliefs. That's what that book is all about. Like, let's really take a rational look at this. And the guy that composed this whole rational emotive therapy thing could get clients from a place of feeling bad to feeling great simply by, okay, why do you feel bad? In any given moment, just the simplicity of that. Why do you feel bad? Oh, because I believe this. Well, how stupid is that? In a nutshell, rational emotive therapy. And that's what erroneous zones is about. And I should really read it sometime. But in like getting this book deal, he was supposed to sit down with this bigwig in the publishing department, and his agent was like, "This is a really big deal. You really have to pitch this right, and you have to da 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 da." So he sits down and he's like, "This guy's having a hell of a time. This guy's going through something." And Wayne didn't admit it, but he's psychic. Queen of Clubs karma card. Hello. So maybe that's why we're doing this today. Is that right, Wayne? Because today is the Queen of Clubs. And even though you were a rational mental giant, your whole thing became about love. Oh yeah. So Dela and I doing this thing with him, we're like, where are you at now? And what are you about? And he's just like, he starts going into this Rumi-esque type poetry. And finally I interrupted. I'm like, you're getting pretty esoteric there, Wayne. Because it was just like further and further out there. And he's like, oh, he was showing me these big giant golden honey drops of like elixir, divine bliss, love. And he's like, oh, this is where I want to be now. I just, it's just so yummy. Which makes sense to me that he would progress out of mental mastery to this love, so maybe he kept ascending, up to the hearts as he was ascending as a soul. Maybe he just kind of kept going up into the heart realm. And I do think that despite what we say about the order, the heart, club, diamond, spade, and how I have a lot of envy of spades, like, oh my God, they have their shit together. But maybe that's what my ego says. But what I find as a diamond is that if I go to the mind and the rational and the layer of belief, and I discipline myself to go to logic, it is always a development for me. It's like reining my diamond passion in, and then I see more clearly. And isn't it true that with people who are always in their head, or they have a club in their moon position, and the more they know, the better they feel? And it's like, no, 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 no. You got to feel what's there. That's growth for them, is to go to the heart, is to feel. So, and maybe for the spade, the big development, Sharon, you can answer this, is a clarifying question for you, the diamond, of like, what do I want? What's important to me? What do I cherish? What do I value? What should I prioritize for myself? Because I think spades tend to sort of be out there managing for everybody else, and they forget that fundamental question. So a heart would go to a spade, right? Ooh, what does that look like? Someone who's getting overly emotional, and the child brain very self-centered, and the spade demands that they do something about it. Take action. And man, the hearts that I have seen take off with action. Wow. I mean, that's really something to be admired. But anyway, so comment. Jeannie, Ace of Clubs, my composite to self plus the Six of Clubs is the Seven of Diamonds. What? Oh my God. Jeannie with her composite magic. The spades are the furthest away from the hearts, yet they're intertwined in karma. Yes, the spades need to remember that hearts are deep inside of them, though it may feel like it's very deep, like really deep. Yes, and Sharon confirms that as a spade, that going to the diamond, like chink down a level, is actually going up, ascending. Isn't that interesting? And it's like all the reversals in the Bible. Okay, so I came across this really weird verse. This is random, but this is me. You guys get it. There is a verse that says in the Old Testament, behold, I am creating a new thing. A woman shall surround a man. And it's very, very enigmatic. And I'm not going to go into that phrase in particular, but there are a lot of, studies about the actual Hebrew words and what that really means. And it like means support or whatever. But I think it's a reversal. I think it's just pointing to a reversal. And I think that there's, because of this really big shift that we are going through, and maybe just went through very recently, a really big shift. I feel like we're into that place of creating, ascending, the reversal of going up to ascend, which means you're going down. You know what I mean? It's always everything. Okay, so you guys didn't answer the question. What famous 10 of diamonds, which other ones can we bring to mind? I'm thinking of two, but I'm going to give you a chance. Okay, so Mercury, Venus, Mars. 6 of diamonds in Mars. What is Wayne's ascending service-oriented task? It's Jupiter-Mercury intersection. Hello? The voice of Mercury, the voice of truth, the supportive, you can do it, Jupiter, the encourager, and the 6 is there is a path, there is a purpose. Artists here, 7 of diamonds just joining. Well, you are more than welcome. So, wow, Ace of Clubs, the planetary ruler of today, plus my personal card, the 6 of Clubs, is the 7 of diamonds. I don't know what your personal card is today, Artist Seer. If you want to know what your personal card is for the day, go to Seven Thunders Publishing and just fill in that's Robert Camp's site. Just fill in your birthday and stuff. But anyway, yeah, that Six of Diamonds, the dharmic purpose, that's how I feel about the Six of Diamonds in particular. All of the sixes give us a message about purpose or destiny or karma or something that you can't get out of, an agreement that's been made. The Six of Diamonds to me feels like earning money, being all fired up about your passion, about that thing that you can't stop doing. You lose track of time. You wake up, it gives you energy. You're like, oh, I want to go do such and such. And for him, it was writing. It was really writing. So that Six of Diamonds, and how is that Mars a gift to others? You know what I discovered though about the Ascending Mars card is that it just says something about your career. It says something about your career path and how money comes to you. And what's interesting about this book, his last book, when he's saying, I can see clearly now, it's all about, I can see clearly how this fit in perfectly. He comes back to that with every single vignette. And I've got a bunch of discs to go. So I'm really curious what he's going to say at the end. I can see clearly now why getting leukemia, because he told Dela and I in that session that he chose very specifically that kind of death for his family's benefit. So I'm going to research that and see respect your family's privacy, but let's see what information is out there about that. Okay, so then we jump up to the Mars line to get the ascending Jupiter, which is the Eight of Clubs. Six of Diamonds is your daily card. So interesting, we both have a six, and I just talked about it. That's crazy. A lot of synchronicities today. So yeah, something about the destiny and the purpose and how everything folds into it. That's like a Six of Diamonds energy. So the Jupiter card, the ascending Jupiter, is, I think, something that it's like a fruit that comes from you doing your due in the world. It's a fruit that happens with others. When you're in your magic, other people just like bloom with this benefit. For me, it's the five, for Seven of Diamonds, it's the Five of Clubs, which is, can we bring a new perspective? Can we bring a turn of phrase perhaps that says it in a new way that gets people to go, wow, that was amazing. I can see it differently. And definitely in my work, there's an awakening, or let's create curiosity here, or let's add some information and let's learn more. That's kind of like the five is like a negative ion that's like always whetting your appetite for let's keep learning, or it's change of mind. Wow, you've really shifted my perspective or my old beliefs. So anyway, Wayne's Jupiter, ascending Jupiter, is the Eight of Clubs, which is in the circle of seven, which I think of as the Holy Spirit or the Akashic Records. Jeannie, I forgot what you said about the Eight of Clubs being in that. So she got the same, either she got it from that one guy, what's his name? And he's in Australia, and he's written a whole thing about the cards and talks about it having an origin other than what the Masons talk about. So either it's from him or it's from Jeannie, but either way, two separate groups, individuals, got the same download, that the circle of seven cards, that each one of them represents an aspect of the divine and its relationship to being human. The whole God-human relationship, the whole, that famous painting. So the Eight of Clubs sits in the very middle of that circle of seven group, numerically, even in between the Seven of Diamonds and the Nine of Hearts, even exactly halfway between the Seven of Diamonds and the Nine of Hearts. So I see it as a go-between, or the way it was first revealed to me is that the Eight of Clubs, because it's the same here as here, has what I called subterranean access to all of the clubs there. So they've got access to knowledge that is beyond the ordinary sphere. So being an ascending Jupiter, That's why Wayne was getting nonstop download after download after download. And then that Eight of Clubs, it's alignment with the divine in the mind. It's divine mental alignment. And I think as a Jupiter, that's the fruit. That's the blooming that happens in other people's lives, is that they can get this divine alignment. I'm going to slow down in case there's any comments or questions at this point. Okay, so then the Saturn card. What is the ascending Saturn? I think the ascending Saturn is, geez Louise, let's all look at it for ourselves for a minute. For me, it's the Ten of Spades, which is finding something that you're tirelessly devoted to. That fits for Seven of Diamonds. Ascending Saturn for the King of Diamonds is the Jack of Hearts, which is coming to like being a broken open in a Christ-like way to realize that it's really all about love and people. Ascending Saturn for Five of Diamonds is Mercury Venus, is the Five of Hearts. So Jeannie, maybe you can talk about that. Has that been difficult to, the way I would phrase it is address your own needs and wants? The inner child kind of five energy is, oh, it's just so beautifully in the present, irrespective of anybody or anything, in a kind of delight and having access to their needs and wants and desires. And it's all just really satisfying, but it's also what? I don't know. Ascending Saturn. How would that be a service? How would that show up in the service that you give? Maybe helping give other people access to that? Okay, ascending Saturn for the Six of Spades, Mercury, Venus, Mars, is the Four of Hearts. Similar. So Sharon, you're ascending Saturn, Four of Hearts. Do you engender emotional security when you're in your service mode? Making other people feel safe. How are you in regard to that task of feeling safe and secure, emotionally secure? Now let's look at Wayne's ascending Saturn, which is the Jack of Spades. Okay, I'm going to throw something out there. He had kind of a drinking problem. And I say kind of because it was only 3 beers in the evening. It was never during the day, 2 or 3 beers. It was during the same 15-year period of time that he ran 8 miles every day without exception. And he has 2 8s in his hand, so I think that's kind of cool. And it really was like, became a part of this rhythm that really built his strength and confidence, and I'm sure got him into a, alpha state that was, allowed him to be the person that he was. But afterwards, he would have a drink, 2 or 3 beers, and then finally came across the writing of some Eastern master that meant a lot to him, that said something like, you can only live into your Dharma fully with a sober mind, like being sober. And whether or not they meant sober as in not drinking, he was convicted, and he was like, oh my God, I have to stop drinking. And he was at a restaurant with his whole family one time and made everybody get up and leave and go somewhere else because they didn't have what he wanted to drink on the menu. He couldn't have his nightly beers at this place. And so he's like, my boorish behavior. And it was so, inconveniencing and upsetting to everyone else. I think he beats himself up a little harshly, but because of his perfectionism, sometimes perfectionists are a little bit too hard on themselves about their mistakes, because it's like, well, hello, you're part of the human race. Like, big deal, okay? You were an ass. Let it go. But anyway, that was a moment for him to go, oh my God, there's a dependence there, and I need to deal with this. So that could be part of the Jack of Spades, that there was something he didn't see that he had to address. But also the Jack of Spades is the shaman card. Yeah, what I'm getting is fooling yourself, kidding yourself. And I haven't really heard of any other big confessions as I'm listening yet to see kind of the darker side of that. But I think on the surface, transformation. The Jack of Spades represents shape-shifting and transformation. It's a shamanic kind of card. It's initiation. I think Wayne went through initiation after initiation after initiation, and it became a habit where usually we think of, like, if you go into an ayahuasca, or say you have a repressed memory come up, or you take on a new practice, like some kind of spiritual practice, like, I don't know, breathing thing, and your world gets turned inside out and totally upended. That is an initiatory experience, and there is a necessary, like, explosion, dismantling, and blowing apart of your world. And then you put the pieces back together. Spirit puts them back together, and you see where your delusions were, and you get remade in a healthy way. And he began to invite that experience. In fact, I have to say this, despite how controversial this person is and continues to be and might always be, because maybe he likes it that way, is Elon Musk. I did a study and a video of him one time 2 years ago, but he invites that experience of failure. He had so many rocket launchers that were failures that he got to a place where he began to appreciate and anticipate it and be like, what are we going to learn this time? And he wasn't emotionally affected by it. And with Wayne Dyer, it's like, let's go into the next stratosphere. Let's break the sound barrier again and again and again. I'm willing for everything to be shattered. And it's like he just kind of kept getting a bigger and bigger and bigger perspective of, like, oh, there is this whole metaphysical world out there. It was in my periphery, but now I can see that it's real. It's not just psychological health. It's initiation into magic is real, real magic, for example, that title. And, okay, so he had a very powerful initiation that I will tell you about, which is definitely an ascending Saturn experience for him. Jeannie, you comment about the spades and their relation to the hearts. Your comment is deeply true. So Cosmic Sunflower is the two of spades. So Cosmic Sunflower, you're the same card as Elon Musk. How do you relate to what I just said about inviting failure, or getting to a place where you're very comfortable with initiation over and over again? Because if we look at it this way, the two of spades, here's your Pluto, and then that Jack of Spades becomes your first Jupiter plus. Jupiter, Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn. The two of spades ends up with the Ace of Hearts being the descending Saturn plus plus. The experience with babies or rebirth or starting all over again. Another clue there. Interesting. So sorry, too many things in my head at once. Oh, the initiation. So he began running marathons. Of course, he's running 8 miles a day. So he's like, what's the next challenge? So he went to Greece because, the word marathon comes from this historical event where a guy had to share a piece of news about a battle. Hey, Stuart, what's the history of marathon? Yeah, he had to. A Greek city-state was the Spartans. Well, that's where the term marathon comes from, because that guy had to run like 26 point whatever miles to Athens to deliver some news, right? About a war. Yeah. So that's where the marathon comes from, is that it's 26 miles from Marathon to Athens. So anyway, he went there. He's going to do this race. The starting time, it was in the middle of summer, and the starting time got delayed. So what that meant is that they were running in the heat of the day, and it happened to be really, really, it's mostly girls here, you don't mind, right? Does your mouth bother you when you watch yourself talk in videos or in the mirror? anyway, anyway, so he goes and to do this race, and it gets delayed. And so when they get to the point that they're climbing this really big hill, and it's way hot, it's like 100 or something insane, and humid, and they're running in busy traffic, so they're getting all these fumes. And as you can imagine, this being in the, I don't know, maybe we're into the 80s by now. Um, Maybe the regulations about emissions in Greece weren't too good. People in the race, he was like 2/3 of them were collapsing and throwing up and being put on into emergency vehicles and taken to the hospital. And a lot of people didn't complete the race that day. He was one that began throwing up and choking and fell down. He's almost passed out. He's laying there on the road just going, oh my God, I did not come all the way here to fail. That was big stakes for him, for Wayne. Gotta win, it's probably a 3 on the Enneagram. But anyway, he's like, I didn't come here all the way to fail, but how can I? I'm utterly spent. I'm dehydrated. How can I do this? A voice came to him, a feminine voice that he recognized as having been with him and been like his muse. And she became utterly real to him in that moment. And she said something like, you're going to complete the race. Somehow he found the strength and resolve, like she helped him up, and he completed the race. And he named her Icus because it was a totally metaphysical thing that he suddenly had this life energy come into him and he was able to complete it. It was totally a miracle. And it's the name of his daughter that was conceived, like, I don't know, in some magical way around that time, whose name was Sky, and then it's backwards, and then her name backwards, and then he add an E somewhere or an I. So anyway, her name became Icus, and he's like, he just openly admitted it. She's this muse. She's this spirit entity that has been with me my whole life. She helps me write stuff, and so he wrote a book called Icus Speaks, I think, and it's a fiction. And again, all of his publishers were like, you can't go into this realm and channeling and guides and all that kind of crap. This was in the 80s, nobody's going to take you seriously. Don't you just love it? So is this his ascending Saturn initiation where he's like, yeah, how about the next thing? And then the next thing. That's just, Wayne was an arrow going in one direction, never going back. And that is an example to us all. And he even has this phrase. He's like, why would you care about the wake that your boat is leaving? It has no influence on where the boat is going. It has no influence on the boat. There are other ways we could look at that. I see it very differently because I'm not the 10 of diamonds, but Wayne was. It's not my job to be the 10 of diamonds. But here we go. It's a beautiful message. He is the poster child for that 10 of diamonds energy within us all. That's what I want to say about that. So yeah, I want to find that fiction that he wrote about Icus, because he said he went to Hawaii. By that time he had enough money. And he just spent, I don't know how long it took, like less than a month, because it's just all automatic writing. She wrote it through him. And he just wrote it on the beach, just like morning, noon, and night. And then it came out, got published. God, doesn't it make you curious? It's like, how come I never heard of that? And then there were plans to turn it into a movie, which it might have been. He did get a movie made called My Greatest Teacher, which was about his dad. So I don't know in here where we could see that he had to endure this wound of profound anger until he was in his 40s, and then had another totally metaphysical, synchronistic, a bunch of things came together that allowed him to finally forgive his dad. And his dad, after he passed on, facilitated this experience, and it was truly remarkable and shifted everything. And then I think he wrote a book on forgiveness because he got it. He's like, oh, this is what it is. And every time he let go of something, he would write about it and then just shoot forward. Cosmic Sunflower, probably answering my question about the Two of Spades and the Jack of Spades. After my Saturn return, I learned to prepare in the summer for winter because I never considered failure as a hindrance. Oh my God, that's poetic. After my Saturn return, I learned to prepare in the summer for the winter because I never considered failure as a hindrance. I'm the quintessential air. I push through. I learned to brace myself. And because I have Jupiter in the eighth house, I know things can flip at any time. However, if I just figure out a way around the obstacle, I am always rewarded after all the tears and sweat. That is so beautiful. And Cosmic Sunflower, I might just have to interview you as a two of spades because I'm going to interview Dayla on Friday, maybe. If we can figure out the whole Zoom thing, we're going to go on. And I'm not going to schedule it because, and we haven't decided on what time yet, but she's my first interview because she's going to be my guinea pig. We're each other's guinea pig. And then after I figure out how to do this, I want to open up this platform to interview each one of you according to your card. And it can be something that you share with your friends and family and be like, here, we did this whole thing about how I'm the whatever. So anyway, isn't that fun? Wayne and Jesus told us we had to start doing that. So, and two of spades, I know that they tend to be more private people. So, Jeannie, thus they're here to learn hard lessons about what really matters. The tens are teachers, all of them, because the 10 signifies starting over with the lessons that were learned from ace to 9. The 10 of diamonds are the teachers of value. Thus, they're here to learn hard lessons about what really matters, being a diamond keyword, about what's important. Hey, Ronnie, you're not late. You're a wizard, and wizards are always on time. Oh, this is rich. About what really matters. Yes, he blew through his own ceiling over and over and over again about that exactly. Jeannie, that is a beautiful just kind of summing up of his whole life. Really cool. Okay, so let's go on to his ascending Uranus card, which is the Two of Diamonds. Okay, Wayne, I'm going to throw in your descending Uranus just because. He's like, go ahead, it's your show. Right? It's my show. Okay, Wayne? So, Three of Clubs. The writer. Uranus is your genius. Writer. Articulating his style, the way he put words together had a universal appeal. Okay, so the Three of Clubs, Uranus having a conversation with the Two of Diamonds. The Two of Diamonds genius. I'm going to pat myself on the back for my interpretation. Okay, so I get out here and I say all this shit, and then I go back and I'm like, I wonder if that's really true. I said it like that's absolute gospel, but maybe I was wrong about that. Okay, so this is answering that voice in my head. The Two of Diamonds, I've always said that the twos on an esoteric, very personal, developmental level are always about, are you going to partner with yourself? Are you going to get on your side of the fence, that you and other kind of sense that we all have? Is that voice, that commentary, going to get on side with you and say, you know what? I really support you in wanting that. That's what the Two of Diamonds is. I really support you, Wayne, in wanting that. And his whole life, remember that Eight of Spades unconditional confidence? It's that Two of Diamonds energy about him that was like, yeah, that's important to me. That really matters. And there was nothing else. He was so aligned within himself because that's where he was going. He wasn't really into partnering with other people. He was kind of a one-man show, although he did end up touring around the world with Deepak Chopra. Can you imagine how amazing that must have been? Oh, and get this. Oh my God, this is so cool. And I don't know where this fits, but one of the peak moments of his life is, don't worry, I'll remember. Today is my Neptune day, the Two of Diamonds. Wow. Are you saying our Uranus card is our genius in what way? I'm saying it's something that comes to you naturally, and you are naturally a genius with this particular thing. So, cosmic sunflower, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, the Eight of Diamonds. You would be a genius with, okay, take your pick, managing money, managing people, being a CEO of some kind, knowing what goes where. Eight of Diamonds are very good at seeing the picture and seeing where everything fits. Being an asshole in a healthy way, knowing when to be an asshole, um, running things, leadership, and what I say, being your own guru in a way. Because, so I asked an Eight of Diamonds, tell me about Jupiter. He's a German guy from Ingelheim, and he runs the metaphysical bookstore in town here. And we were in the Essene community in a past life. Very tight link between us. His birthday is the day before mine. So Eight of Diamonds, Seven of Diamonds. Anyway, I said, tell me about Jupiter. And he goes, it is the guru. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's a follower of Yogananda, but I know it's about becoming your own guru. So I don't know if any of that resonates with you, Cosmic Sunflower, as to how that would be your genius. But I would also say that the Two of Spades are they have the capacity to be incredibly disciplined. And that's that Queen of Spades underneath that says, I must take accountability. Okay, so if you know who David Wilcock is, if you listen to him, he's been a presence out there in the metaphysical community for decades. And he is the most guileless. Okay, maybe he's a little full of himself and a little delusional sometimes about his importance in the world, but who knows? Maybe he really is that important. It's entirely possible. He has a sense of, if I am not utterly impeccable in my relationships and my choices, and it's that Six of Spades karma underneath, he's like, I can't afford to do that this time around. And so that Queen of Spades genius is like, I know how to take full accountability for my life and my manifestations and, be a grown up. That's kind of how I'm seeing. Okay, yes, I hear you. It makes sense. Okay, thank you. Jeannie says, all the tools have karmas with the aces, self energy, except for the elder, the Two of Spades. Two of Spades has karma with the six. Yeah, twos and aces, you'll notice them always like, having these, this dance. Except for the Two of Spades, has karma with the six, Venus energy, and the king. So six is Venus. Bringing them responsibility to the karma. Okay, so in what way, I'm just going to throw this out there for you guys to think about while I continue with Wayne. In what way, in the Viktor Frankl story, in what way is the Two of Spades here to learn how to be their own best friend in a spade sense, how to take action on behalf of themselves? Because I find that one of the themes is that they see what's good and beneficial and gifted in everybody else, but they have a harder time seeing that within themselves. So, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Yeah, Neptune is King of Spades. So their blind spot, maybe, I don't know, about their own kingship, their own sovereignty, their own empowerment. Like, I get to make these choices for myself. Because I think they tend to feel beholden to everybody. Yeah, Sunflower, we need to do a reading with you. If you're open to that. But I know that Ace of Spades makes you more private. So I'm okay with you saying, no, I don't really want to be interviewed. I'm just going to have to say, contact me if you want me to interview you on this platform. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the Viktor Frankl story. So Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl wrote this little book because he was in the concentration camps during World War II. And he lived this, it was really, I think it was Buchenwald, they were all really hellacious and awful. And he just went through this terrible time. And he realized that the one thing they could not take from him, because one form of the torture was to remove every potential choice that you had. You don't have a choice about what you wear or what you eat or what you're going to do with your time. But he said, I think he was the one that said, they couldn't control the fact that I could get up 5 minutes before everyone had to get up. And I think that's the same one. And he said, they could not take the choice of how to respond to something emotionally. What is my response rather than my reaction? Like, oh, you've taken our rations away and you're expecting us to suffer, but I can choose another response. I didn't read the book, but I know that's one of the big takeaways. Well, anyway, Wayne, when he was a professor at Wayne State University, was required reading in his classes, Man's Search for Meaning. Well, he goes to this big old, let's see, what's it called? Like the principals gathering. It's like just this, like the conclave of all of these thought leaders in the world, really big names. So Wayne got invited to that, and he got to sit next to Viktor Frankl. Yeah, just amazing. Okay, so you guys haven't answered the question yet. What other famous, this is your last chance, other famous 10 of diamonds who have given a lot to the world? Okay, if you don't know, you don't know, and I'll just tell you in a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to wait. So, ascending Neptune. He's like, okay, throw in the descending. So, I just got to say, the Three of Spades as a descending Neptune means that all 10 of diamonds are going to be a little delusional about achievement. You just talk about the whole world of achievement. It's embedded within in them that they must achieve. They get it from the culture, and it's toxic. We all suffer from the message about achievement in this culture. You are nothing without achievement. Your achievements define you. I freaking hate that word, achievement. Got a very sticky relationship with it because what the world considers an achievement is very different from what, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Wayne whispered something to me and it makes sense now. It wasn't this morning, it was some other time. But he embraced me and he said something about, I see all that you've achieved. And I burst out crying. It was this heartful embrace that was like, I see your achievement. It didn't show up like my achievement. I see your achievement. I see, because I'm not subject to the delusion of Neptune about achievement. But Neptune is also that thing that we idealize, that we think is the penultimate. And everybody wants this, right? Everyone wants to actualize and achieve. Well, he took Abraham Maslow's self-actualization into the world with the language that was required. And according to his Ace of Hearts planetary ruler, the Three of Spades was his descending Saturn. It was his life's goal to talk about and teach about and embody self-actualization, which is really the highest meaning of the Three of Spades. But anyway, I just had to throw that in there. Wow, that's really powerful. The Pluto card, Jeannie says, the Pluto card to the Two of Spades, how they transform Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Pluto is the Three of Hearts. How they transform, it brings them back to the Ace of Clubs as a challenge to transform, whether by force or by allowing themselves to let go of what doesn't serve them. No, Prince was, maybe he was. When is Prince's birthday? He was a very special card. Darn it, I don't know. Would somebody look it up? I should be charging my phone all this time. I'm at 6%. My charger's in my room. Anyway, so Cosmic Sunflower, I hope you found that helpful. I was looking at their synastry before that came up. Wild. Okay, so I wondered, okay, so yeah, the Three of Clubs and or Three of Hearts and its relation to the Ace of Hearts, the baby card. Okay, so his, where was I? Oh, achievement. His ascending Neptune is the Four of Clubs. So remember when I did all of these, I did a whole bunch of videos on the ascending Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto because they were really different. Yeah, the ascending Neptune had this feeling about it of like, oh, I'm never going to get there. I would love to. Like, that would be the ultimate. That would just be the dream come true. Like, yeah, but who's ever going to take me up in space? You know, how likely is that? Like, the ascending Neptune kind of had that feel of like it feels like impossible. That's never going to happen, but it would just be amazing if it did. That's sort of the framework that I've found for it for myself. And for him, that Four of Clubs would be, I think it's to be published, to have the four is usually a structure or a container or a predictable definition of some kind, like a box that isn't going to change shape. It's solid, it's reliable, it's secure. Security of philosophy, of mind, the sanity card, the clarity card. Well, he definitely had that in clubs or spades. He definitely had that. So I'm not quite sure how to interpret that card because that seems like a gimme. But the Four of Clubs maybe is a little bit more about the packaging, so to speak. Like, did he ever? Oh, maybe he did. Maybe he did develop a methodology. He did. And the Four of Clubs has been associated with meditation. A mantra could be the Four of Clubs. It literally translates to mind protector. It's about keeping your mind safe and secure in a box. If you're repeating a mantra, no other shit can get in. Mind protector. He did create a method of meditation in order to demystify it and ground it and make it practical for people, and it borrows from a whole bunch of other traditions. Kind of like an Eckhart Tolle of the, what Eckhart Tolle is to, say, one of the old sages, like maybe even a Deepak Chopra. Wayne Dyer was to Abraham Maslow. Let's put this in a practical, usable format that doesn't feel so like Abraham Maslow is like in the psychological field, and Wayne is like 10 of hearts, we're going to give it to the world. And Abraham Maslow died the day he graduated from college. And I think also the Kent State things happened. But anyway, he had all those synchronicities like that. Jim Carrey is one of them. Yep, Jim Carrey. And he kind of went off into the realm of enlightenment, right? Did he get a little bit lost with his ascending Saturn? Because he's like, I'm not Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is not here. Jim Carrey really likes leather jackets. He was like, I'm no one. I am not here. It's like he started to play with that whole idea of ego. There's no one here. What is identity? The false identity, which is something that you can see Wayne is working with too. The false self and what lies beyond our tightly packaged idea of who we are, what's actually possible. He's a rocket that took off into that realm, but Wayne stayed grounded. I don't know if Jim Carrey is okay. He just seemed like he kind of went off the deep end. But who's the other famous 10 of diamonds? January 17th is the clue. One of our founding fathers, the most interesting one in my mind, although they're all fascinating people. Ben Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, who I think reincarnated as, and I've studied this extensively about their karma, their families, their wives, their kids, the choices, their professions, their travels, Mark Twain, who I think may have incarnated as oh gosh, the Howdy Doody time, the Rogers, Will Rogers. And then I think Will Rogers reincarnated as Robin Williams. And I have done a study and it sort of makes sense. But I didn't get any deeper than that. I feel very secure about the Mark Twain thing, because when Mark Twain was a boy, his father, he said, my father forced me to memorize Ben Franklin, everything Ben Franklin ever wrote. And it's like, wouldn't it be cool if we did that in our schools? God damn, that guy was amazing. Anyway, maybe Wayne Dyer is Ben Franklin. Prince was a 10 of diamonds. Wow. Oh, that would make sense. Ace of clubs, the 2 of spades, Pluto reward. Yeah, because can they come back to self? Because they're so other oriented. And also, can they be alone? I think might be one of the questions for 2 of spades. June 7th is Prince's birthday, so that would be the 10 of diamonds. Yep. Benjamin Franklin, you got it. Steve Harvey. Oh, Steve Harvey. Who is Steve Harvey? Why is that ringing such a big bell? Oh, okay. Here's a picture of him. This is Steve Harvey. Now, doesn't that just look like a 10 of diamonds to you? Yeah, baby! Oh, this is even better. Look at this. That is a 10 of diamonds. Yes, yes, you can. Yes, isn't it all great? Yes. Yes Man. Isn't that funny? Jim Carrey did a movie called Yes Man, and he's the 10 of diamonds. They're just a whole big bundle of yes, aren't they? Okay, so we just have one more card, his ascending Pluto, the 6 of hearts. So, ascending Pluto, this is, let me define it for you again. I memorized this crazy thing that I came up with. It's something that came to you some time ago. It changed the course of your life. It was absolutely necessary. It may have seemed like a crisis or something very bad at the time, something very difficult, but it gifted you with something that determined the trajectory of your life. And I would say has a really big deal to do with your transformation. It was a crisis and a fundamental transformation that was necessary. It's a huge blessing. It's not something you could have arranged or chosen or done for yourself. It's like it was done for you, because for some reason it lay outside your control, or it's something that you wouldn't have chosen because maybe it's outside your character or personality or even karma. It's like this gift that came in. Okay, guess what his is? The 6 of hearts, karmic relationship, my greatest teacher, referring to his father who abandoned him and was not a part of his life. And the anger about that and the pain continued until he had a metaphysical forgiveness moment in his 40s at his father's gravesite. He didn't even know that his dad had died or where he was buried until a string of synchronicities happened. Yeah, so he made a movie about it called My Greatest Teacher. So here he is, thank you, thank you, thank you, my father, for coming into this life and abandoning me and being a complete asshole, and for having nothing to do with me. And he just felt so rejected and pushed away, but he sees the perfection and it defined him. And he had a lot of karmic relationships in a sense. What I mean by karmic, 6 of hearts, an appointed relationship that presented him with something very difficult. Now, he did have 2 marriages, and we don't know anything about the first wife or how that ended. But that was definitely, they did have a child together, and that definitely would have done something. I don't know. But I think his father was the real biggie, the whole 6 of hearts thing. So go ahead and weigh in on interpreting that. It's Mars, anger. He had this huge burden of anger. Betty White was also a 10 of diamonds. What a blessing that woman was. blessing to the world. They're gifts, these 10 of diamonds. I gotta tell my daughter that. It's her planetary ruler. She doesn't quite see that yet, but anyway, wow, thank you, Wayne. That was stupendous. Okay, look at the descending Pluto, 9 of hearts, the loss of someone. And the ascending 6 of hearts. Oh, this was planned. I chose this. This defined my life. It was a tremendous gift. So we could go Jupiter, Saturn, and I could see that making a lot of sense, but we're already at an hour 25, so I'm going to close it out. Any final comments or questions? Wayne, this was really fun. Expect to see Dayla and I on Friday if we manage to figure out how to start up a Zoom and then translate it to YouTube. And I'm sure that there are videos out there that will give me instructions. It can't be that hard, right? And Dayla and I have not decided on what time because she's in Senegal and I'm in Colorado. But she does stay up all hours of the night, so that opens up some time slots. She might be a fried cookie, but hey, she'll show up. Okay, I guess that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Did you find this interesting? Did you enjoy this whole Wayne Dyer thing? And I could not highly enough recommend listening to this I Can See Clearly Now, or reading his book I Can See Clearly Now, because like C.S. Lewis says, you're not done with an experience until you've remembered it for the last time, and you can bring the full weight of your learning to bear on, the perspective. You are so welcome, Brenda. You have a great, it's only 2:30 here. Have a great afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are. So much love to all of you. Bye.